Namaste, everybody. Lisa Romano here, the Breakthrough Life Coach. It is April 19th, 2019. Kind of cool. I uploaded a Facebook post today and an Instagram post speaking about the throat chakra and how many of us, speaking to the idea of about how many of us have a blocked throat chakra and the many ways in which it can affect us. And I wanted to create a quick video to help encourage those of you who are experiencing maybe difficulty in swallowing, or maybe you get frequent sore throats, maybe you have a thyroid issue like I do. Do you suffer from anemia? Do you get a tickle in your throat? Do you ever notice that when you start talking about something that is really, really deep and resonates with you and makes you uncomfortable, you have to clear your throat? You know, most of the time when I do my one-to-one coaching, you know, if not all of the time, you know, I'm listening on the telephone for varying pitches and for changes in breathing patterns and tones with my clients. And I'm very, very aware of when they have to clear their throat, right? Or when I say something, all of a sudden they start to cough. Those are all signs to me that there's an inner truth there that has made them maybe a little bit uncomfortable to face cognitively and squarely and consciously, and their throat chakra is reacting. So the throat chakra is really, in my opinion, is tied to survival, pain versus pleasure. If I have learned as a child that what I think and what I feel is irrelevant, and if I have been programmed and brainwashed to understand, and that pattern is now in my subconscious mind, to correlate speaking my truth with pain, then my throat chakra is going to block. That is so that I prevent myself from putting myself in harm's way. I prevent myself from speaking up and becoming more and more wounded. So those of us who are, you know, in our 20s, our 30s, our 40s, our 50s, our 60s, our 70s, our 80s, and so on, who, men and women, who are finding that this has been our experience where we have been shut down and our body is now working to protect us. And a flashback is a system of protection. When your brain flashes back, it's trying to warn you, danger, 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 danger's ahead. And our body secretes all these amazing hormones as a way to get us to move quickly and out of this perceived fearful environment. The problem is we have to learn how to relax the amygdala, relax the hippocampus, so that we can take information from the now and put it into proper context so that we don't continually to get stuck. And many of us get stuck. So the throat chakra is part of that system, in my opinion. That's the way I look at it. It's a defense system. My throat is going to block down or lock down when I've learned that speaking is going to get me in trouble, right? I remember specifically being a little girl and sitting at the kitchen table with the characters in my family and sensing my mother and father's mood and picking up that it was dangerous to say anything, to say, I don't like liver and onions. It was dangerous to like let a tear drop out of your face. It was dangerous. So there was all this swallowing of my emotions and swallowing and suppressing and pushing it down. And that's why we say swallow it or suck it up. It all has to do with the mouth and pressing down, right? So I just wanted to talk a little bit about, you know, what we can do, those of us who are on the healing path and who are doing what we can to consciously heal ourselves from subconscious programming, right? Which is a monumental feat. That's why I think so often traditional therapy fails, because what's wrong is not us. You know, what's wrong is programming, and that's subconscious. So having a conscious conversation and relying on conscious conversations to actually do the healing is, I think it's a little short-sighted. In fact, I know it is. So it's healing is a lot deeper than just having a conversation, right? Because what's wrong are patterns and programs that are subconscious, and also neural wiring, right? So we have to change our neural wiring. We literally have to reprogram, right? But we're moving in that direction. Science is moving in that direction, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. And 100 years from now, you know, things will be different in terms of how we approach healing. Trauma is going to be a very common household word. Doctors, teachers, you name it. Anybody that has any contact with a child is going to know about trauma. When you walk into a doctor's office and you say, you know, doc, I have this pain in my neck, you know, they're going to ask you, you know, some ACE questions. They're going to try to figure out what your ACE score is. They're going to ask you, you know, have you suffered any type of trauma, domestic violence? Have you witnessed it? Have you experienced it? What about sexual abuse? You know, what have you been exposed to in your childhood? Addiction? Were you put in foster care? Were you bounced around a lot? Did you feel safe in your home? This is what we're working towards. You know, at least this is what I hope that we are working towards, that we have better understanding about why our bodies do what they do, and we understand why our minds think the way they think, and we develop the ability to become enlightened. Because if you want to heal, then it's the path to enlightenment that will heal you, right? Being humble and observing what's happened and getting out of resistance to what happened so that you can clear it, so that you can work in the now. So some of the tips that I'd like to offer you are, you probably, when you hear it, you're probably like, oh, that makes total sense. You've got to get your vocal cords moving. So some people just, you know, they sing in the mirror or they sing in the car. Very, very important to get energy moving through the vocal cords. But I also have found in my own life and through my programs and coaching with people one-on-one, is that journaling prompts can be a tremendous benefit. So I believe in the head, heart, hand connection. I write everything out longhand. I don't journal on the keyboard, although some people prefer that. I do everything longhand. And I tap into the trauma. I tap into remembering what it felt like. And I'll give myself like 10 or 15 minutes if something comes up for me. You know, I'll go into my sacred space and I'll shut the door, tell everybody, leave me the hell alone. I'm working something out, okay? Just leave me alone. Don't knock on the door. Don't ask me for cookies. Don't ask me where the ketchup is in the refrigerator. Don't ask me where your socks are. Don't ask me. The door is shut. I'm working something out. Those of us with trauma have got to develop that type of respect for the work that we have to do to get where we want to go. Because getting where we want to go, we take everybody with us. So when we respect where we have to go, and we respect our time, and we respect that we've been traumatized, and we respect that we're dealing with codependency, and we respect that it takes time to work this stuff out, we can work it out. But we don't just benefit, our entire family benefits. So developing that type of confidence that you're on the right path is very important. And it also teaches everybody else to respect your ass. So I suggest you, if you're dealing with something deep and you think that your throat chakra you know, is blocked or you're having some issues with it, what you want to do is get into your sacred space. Light a candle. Close your eyes, right? Get a pen. Get a pretty pen. Get an awesome notebook. Do it up. Respect yourself. And ask yourself, what am I feeling in this moment? And whatever comes up, you write it out. I'm feeling depressed. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling concerned. I'm feeling worried. I wish I could say blah, 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 blah. I wish I could feel blah, 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 blah. I think I feel this way because blah, 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 blah. You want to tap into these experiences that are blocking you from being able to speak your truth. So it's safe, right? It's much safer than walking out into a room full of people, you know, who have gaslighted you your whole life. It's much safer to get out a notebook and begin talking about your trauma on paper. That is allowing the energy of your truth to flow, because what's blocking your inner wisdom is the inability to process trauma, and you keep swallowing it. So truth really does set us free. Now, people who suffer from codependency, they get a little screwed up right around that point, because they think my truth is a truth someone else should validate. No, your truth is your truth, and your truth is true for you. And that doesn't mean anybody has to acknowledge it or validate it or even agree with you, which can be very, very disruptive, because we have come to bond, and we have come to engage with others in a healthy, satisfying way. We have come to be parts of tribes. And so when we acknowledge this truth in us, and we unconsciously think, Well, my brother should agree. He should remember when he abused me, right? Or my mother should remember the day that I told her my brother or my uncle abused me, and she told me I was making it up. And she should acknowledge that that hurt me. Maybe she should, but if you believe that, you're going to stay stuck and you won't have access to the inner wisdom within you. And it's not because your inner wisdom isn't there. It's because you're in resistance to what is. And you're operating your life by a faulty set of belief systems. The belief systems by which you are running your life are negative and they're counterproductive, right? And it's important that we recognize that so that we can raise our consciousness around this idea of what it means to be codependent versus non-codependent so that we can access the inner wisdom within us, right? Because enlightenment is really going to set you free. And so, but before enlightenment, there's truth, right? And before this truth is acknowledging what went wrong. And then you have to know what to do and how to heal what went wrong, which I hope many of you are benefiting from the work that I do, because that's my work. This is my passion in life, is to help people break through. You have a breakdown, but then understand that your breakdown is always going to lead to a breakthrough, right? And developing the resiliency to withstand what happens in the now when you start to confront your truth, right? Really interesting stuff. So you want to make sure that you're singing, that you're speaking. Speak into your phone, right? I've done that so many times. When I was driving to the gym, I'd put on my cell phone, I'd record myself. Something was really bothering me about a family member or whatever, one of the kids. I spoke about it in the phone. I just rambled into the phone. This is unblocking your throat chakra. This is getting truth through your throat chakra, right? So you want to begin speaking into your phone. You want to sing out loud. You want to journal, right? You want to gargle with a little bit of maybe some Himalayan salt. You want to get the energy in this throat space activated. Put your hand over your throat and ask yourself for the permission to speak your truth, even if it is just on paper, right? Put both hands over your throat chakra. Put one hand over your throat chakra, the other hand over your heart, and ask inner wisdom to guide you towards truth. The goal is to be able to recognize what's wrong, because you can't fix a hole in the wall you can't see. And I know for me, one of the most despicable aspects of codependency was this unconsciousness, this unawareness, this living below the veil. And when you live below the veil, you can do nothing else but play with the tools that are in the basement. That's it. Those are the only tools you have, right? And so not knowing that I was asleep was despicable. It kept me stuck. And I didn't know what was wrong because I couldn't label what was wrong. And then when I came to the understanding that it was codependency, and I did a lot of homework, and I did a lot of history work, and I realized it wasn't me, it was my programming. I had been programmed to be codependent. Then I studied quantum mechanics. I studied mind development, self-development, personal development, quantum mechanics, studied all of it, and it all began to make sense. And that is when I really started to discover breakthroughs. But blocked throat chakras are real. And I think it's one of the easiest things that we can work on in the 3D world, because you can do it right here, right now, right? You can start working on accessing your truth right here, right now. And that doesn't mean you go shout it out from the rooftops and you tell everybody, I hate you, I think this, you're a flying monkey, or you're a narcissist. That's not what I mean. I'm talking about how you feel about your experiences. What are your emotional experiences in relation to the experiences that you've had by people perhaps who have invalidated you or abandoned you? How did you feel when you tried to set a goal and right before the finish line it collapsed? How did you feel? What do you think that was all about? And what does that experience, what does it, and what can it teach you today? This is the type of work I'm talking about. So I hope that this has inspired some of you to believe more deeply in your truth and to understand a little bit more about the throat chakra, and to know that you can at any point in time begin to have energy flow through it more easily, more gracefully. One of the things I also do is I use essential oils, and I'll just dab a little bit on either side of my throat, and I'm pretty convinced that a blocked throat chakra, along with stress, blew out my thyroid. And that's not my fault. I was below the veil of consciousness, had no idea what the hell I was doing. I was tired, I was frustrated, I kept doing the wrong things, expecting a different result. And I think someone said that's the definition of insanity. And that's how I felt. But today is a new day. And now there's no problem with my throat chakra, as you guys know, right? As you guys know. So love yourselves, dear one. It's a Friday. Make it a great day. Know that you're enough, because ultimately that is your truth. You have no thing to prove. You have no thing you must do. There's nothing you need to defend, because you are enough. Namaste. Bye for now.